PressCorps Radio and its corresponding affiliates take pride in presenting me, Dr. Oliver Brolan Ponsonby, Esquire, your host for the Cadmium Stage of the Skies. Great drama for a great new medium. As the leaves begin to die and the air wilts ever so colder, we are at least comforted by the fact that the seasons repeat themselves again. It makes sense to us. And yet there are some corners of this world that simply do not make sense to the rest. One clandestine group of fellows have dedicated themselves to combating, or perhaps simply containing, these oddities. Mr. Langley is about to find out for himself in high-fidelity audio. This is Bureau of Occult Warfare, Episode 1. Written, edited, and voiced by Commander Rod of the Roughnecks.
Sir, the new tape is in.
Much appreciated, Mr. Jones. Now, Mr. Langley, let's go back to the beginning. I still have a couple of questions about your testimony.
More questions? Are you serious? I don't have time for this. You guys need to do something about this, okay?
No, please, Mr. Langley, if you are speaking the truth, there's no problem for us to ask you a couple of more questions. Is there? Or are you not telling the truth? Is that the situation here? I don't think you would want to be caught lying to the high command of Siva.
I'm not lying, okay? Look, go out to the island yourself. You're gonna see proof of everything I've told you now.
Mr. Langley, please, I don't... Mr. Director! Oh, excuse me, sir. I didn't expect you. I wasn't told that you were going to be here today.
No. It's quite all right. Sergeant Langley, I'm very glad to have you back. I've read your testimony. Quite a bad state of affairs in that island, correct?
Yeah. And your little subordinate here keeps questioning me about it. I've told you everything I know.
Right. But still, Sergeant Langley, if you don't mind, I would like to hear it with my own ears. You must understand that this is, quite unusual.
And I'm assuming that your division deals with this kind of stuff?
Yes. I'm surprised you have heard of it.
If it wasn't for that Velimacean soldier, I wouldn't have. Surprisingly that he did know and I didn't, seeing that I'm a Sivan soldier myself.
Is this an admission of guilt, of collaborating with a Velimacean soldier? If it is, telling us about the incident in the island might be the only way out for someone like you, Sergeant.
All right, fine. But this is the last time, okay? This is just too much.
I'm all ears. Go ahead.
It all started as a skirmish between us and Velimacean forces. Fucking colonials. They had us surrounded in this church in the middle of this island. They had amphibious landings over on the eastern side, and more of them were pouring in by the hour. Then this weird fog rolled in. Nothing like I'd ever seen before. A few hours through, and we started seeing their lights go off. They had these camps set up around the church, and their lanterns just kept going off, and screams and gunshots just kept popping up. Then everything was quiet. Me and my men, we stayed quiet inside the church. We didn't move a muscle. Felt like forever. Then all of a sudden, someone knocked on the church door. These colonial soldiers, they were drenched in blood. You could barely see the green of their uniforms.
And
then we let them in.
You let Villimus soldiers into your position? That is grounds for treason.
now. Why did you let them in?
Sir, I've seen what war does to people. I've seen the 1,000-yard stares that my friends have. The one my father had before he passed away. This was nothing like it. These men's eyes, they were filled with fear. But not fear of death. Of something much worse. And that's when it happened.
What happened?
We closed the doors. The Colonials, they were screaming at us to close them. They needed those doors closed at all costs. They started putting corpses up against it to protect themselves. But there was something about it. The way they moved those corpses around. Before they would put the corpses up against those doors, they would take shovels or pickaxes or whatever they could find, and they would just smash the heads in. Put them against the door and just bar it as hard as they could. They took the plank tips, they took the benches, they took everything they could, and they barred the windows and the doors. Then I'd never seen anything like it. Not even gas makes people that scared.
And then?
Everything was quiet for a bit. But then one of the Colonial Soldiers, he just started going mad. Like nothing I'd ever seen before. Speaking in tongues. At first I thought it was Velian or Nevian, but no. I asked Specialist Thomas, he's from Nevin. It wasn't either of the languages. It was just gibberish. Just inhuman gibberish. And then he started screaming and he fell to the ground and he started convulsing and then he stopped. Dead. Out of nowhere.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, Director. I'll bring you the specialist.
What specialist?
Focus on the story, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. So, while we were holding the door, the Colonials had us hold the door with them. They dropped their guns. They showed us that they meant no harm to us. They were more scared of whatever was out there. And we had no idea, because if we did, most of my men would have taken their lives right there. I would have shot a couple of them myself. It was better than what happened.
Focus.
Right. We held the door for what felt like hours, but it was actually a couple of minutes. Suddenly, we started hearing them. Footsteps. So many of them.
Like a march?
No, not like a march. It was like a crowd, like a mob. Just they were getting louder and louder. They were coming towards us, and then all of a sudden, the door started shaking, and there was nothing we can do. The men, the Colonials as well, they started losing their morale, and I did everything I could, but my commanding officer was just transfixed. He was petrified. And then he started telling these old wives' tales about this dead harvest legend, and look, I'm not a superstitious man. I don't believe in that garbage. Okay, I'm a guy of science. All right?
Yes, I'm aware. Your file counts you as a physicist, correct?
Yeah, astrophysicist.
Right. I'm assuming you intended to go back to that position after the war was done?
What does that matter?
It matters for the Bureau.
Yes, I was planning on continuing my studies.
Right. Good to know. Go on. The doors.
Right. Then they got to the doors.
They?
Whatever they were, whatever was out there, they got to the doors and they started rattling them, pushing up against them.
And then?
And then the people we had on the windows just got pulled out. I heard the sound of breaking glass, and then 2 of my men disappeared through the fucking window. Just pulled out into the darkness. Okay, I don't fucking know where they went. I couldn't even see the white of their eyes when they went outside that window. They were gone. And after that, I just heard screams.
And then?
And then, the Velimasayan I was talking about.
What was his name?
What?
His name.
Livia dos Estes.
Mr. Dos Estes?
Yes. What's the ETA on that specialist?
Just a couple of more minutes, sir, and he'll be here.
Good. Now, what did he do? What did Mr. Dos Estes do?
He had a radio backpack. He got in contact with Veli in High Command. And he asked for an artillery strike.
An artillery strike? On your position?
Yeah. We held them off as much as we could. It was our luck that the church had these thick doors. They managed to protect us through the night. As soon as the sun crept over the horizon, over the sea, we saw them. Colonial gunboats. The Colonials thought they were saved. But Dos Estes knew better. We only heard the approaching shells. At least I did. Then everything went black. As soon as they exploded, I heard the doors opening. I could see the white of their eyes. I could smell their breath. I could hear the thumping of their feet. They were not human. Whatever you want to say, they were not people. They feasted on my men. They killed those Colonials. And the gunboats killed us all.
But not you, Sergeant.
Yeah, but not me, Director. So what? What do you want to do? You want to give me a fucking promotion? Is that what you want to do? For surviving? For fighting against the colonial menace? Is that what you want to do? Because I'm no fucking hero. Neither of us are. And you, above all, are not a fucking hero.
I never said I was a hero, son. But I am one of those who fights against these things.
What?
The Bureau of Occult Warfare.
Ah, Grand Director Archimetrius. It is good to see you.
Oh, Director Ablak, just call me John for Morrow's sake. We've been through this before.
Morrow's sake? You're a colonial.
And you are no longer a warden soldier, Sergeant Langley.
What are you talking about?
Exactly what I just said. You are no longer a warden soldier. You are hereby enlisted upon the Bureau of Occult Warfare.
The hell are you talking about? I have a unit to go back to.
Ah, yes, the unit that was completely wiped out thanks to Velian gunships, correct? You're not going back to that unit. Director Ablak, make preparations for we leave for Velimasayan tonight. We'll be meeting the other members of the BOW there.
I see our recruiting drive worked properly, Grand Director.
Ah, yes, it did. This is bound to be one of the greatest incursions against the dead harvester we have ever had. And you, Sergeant Langley, get ready, boy, because you're about to go bump the things that go bump in the night.
This has been episode 1 of the Bureau of Occult Warfare, written, directed, and voiced by Commander Rod of the Roughnecks. Join me, Dr. Oliver Brolan Ponsonby, next time here on the PressCorps Cadmium Stage of skies.